Imagine walking into a room where everyone seems drawn to one particular woman. Not because she's the loudest, not because she's the most traditionally beautiful, but because she carries herself with an undeniable energy. She doesn't seek attention, yet attention finds her. She doesn't chase, yet people gravitate toward her. There's a presence about her, a quiet confidence that makes her stand out without effort. This is the power of self-worth, and it's the reason why some women never chase men, yet always attract them. Attraction isn't about looks alone. It's not about saying the right things or playing mind games. It's about energy. People respond to the way you see yourself. When a woman believes deep down that she is valuable, worthy, and enough as she is, she creates an invisible force that pulls others toward her. And this isn't arrogance, it's certainty. And certainty is rare. Most people walk through life second-guessing themselves, seeking validation from others, hoping that someone will notice them, choose them, and make them feel wanted. But the moment you shift your focus inward, when you stop needing external approval, you become magnetic. Men, whether they realize it or not, are drawn to confidence, not forced confidence, not arrogance disguised as self-assurance, but genuine, unshakable belief in one's own value. It's the difference between a woman who subtly asks, "Am I good enough?" and a woman who already knows she is. The first will always chase approval, chase love, chase affection, because she feels like she needs to prove something. The second will always attract, because she understands she is the prize. And here's the paradox of attraction. The more you chase, the more you repel. The more you stand firm in who you are, the more others will want to be close to you. Psychologically, this comes down to a fundamental truth. People want what feels scarce, not in a manipulative, game-playing way, but in a deeply wired, evolutionary sense. When something is too available, too eager, or too easy to obtain, it loses value. Think about the things you cherish most in life. They're not the things that come easily or demand your attention. They're the things that are selective, that require effort to maintain, that make you feel lucky to have them. The same principle applies to relationships. When a woman operates from a place of self-worth, she doesn't throw herself at anyone. She isn't desperate for attention because she doesn't need it to feel whole. That very self-sufficiency makes her incredibly attractive. Men, despite what popular culture might suggest, are not drawn to women who bend over backward to prove their worth. They are drawn to women who already know their worth and act accordingly. A woman who chases sends a message. I need you to validate me. A woman who stands in her power sends a different message. I am already complete. That difference is everything. There's a reason why the most captivating people in any room aren't the ones trying the hardest. They're the ones who seem completely at ease, as if they have nothing to prove. They listen more than they speak. They engage without trying to impress. They don't force connections, they allow them to unfold naturally. This is the energy of someone who is whole, someone who is secure in themselves, someone who doesn't feel the need to chase. And, ironically, this is the very energy that makes others chase them. When a woman believes she is valuable, she doesn't settle. She doesn't waste time on men who don't appreciate her. She doesn't linger in situations where she isn't respected. She doesn't try to convince anyone to love her because she understands love isn't something you beg for, it's something you inspire. And here's the real secret. The moment you stop chasing and start embodying this mindset, the right people start appearing, the ones who see your worth without you having to prove it, the ones who respect you because you respect yourself, the ones who are drawn to you, not because you need them, but because you don't. A woman who sees herself as the prize doesn't just believe she's valuable, she embodies it in every action, every word, and every decision she makes. She doesn't seek approval because she already approves of herself. She doesn't chase, beg, or compromise her standards just to keep someone around. Instead, she operates from a mindset of abundance, knowing that she is worth choosing, worth loving, and worth committing to. This isn't arrogance, it's self-respect. And self-respect is one of the most powerful forces of attraction. When a woman sees herself as the prize, she doesn't put a man on a pedestal. She understands that relationships should be built on mutual appreciation, not one-sided pursuit. She doesn't fall into the trap of thinking she has to earn love by proving how good she is, how much she cares, or how willing she is to sacrifice her own needs. She knows that love flows effortlessly when two people recognize and value each other equally. A woman who views herself as the prize doesn't ask, "What can I do to make him choose me?" Instead, she asks, "Is he worthy of me?" This shift in mindset changes everything. Psychologically, people are wired to place more value on things they have to work for. It's called the effort justification principle. When we invest time, energy, and resources into something, we instinctively assign it more worth. This is why men are drawn to women who maintain high standards and expect to be treated with respect. When a woman makes it clear, through her actions, not just her words, that she will only entertain those who treat her well, she becomes infinitely more desirable. Not because she's playing hard to get, but because she genuinely believes she deserves the best. Contrast this with a woman who constantly proves her worth, overextends herself, and tries to make a man see her value. She may be loving, supportive, and deeply invested in him, but the more she gives without expecting the same in return, the less he values her efforts. This is the painful reality many women face. The more they chase, the more they are taken for granted, not because they aren't worthy, but because they are giving their energy to someone who hasn't earned it. The woman who sees herself as the prize understands a fundamental truth. Love should never be about convincing someone to choose you. She doesn't operate from fear. Fear of being alone, fear of losing someone, fear of not being enough. She knows that a man who truly sees her worth will step up. She knows that desperation repels and self-assurance attracts. She never lowers her standards just to keep someone interested because she would rather be alone than be with someone who doesn't recognize her value. Men feel this energy. They sense the difference between a woman who is confident in herself and a woman who is seeking external validation. A confident woman walks away from situations that don't serve her, not because she's playing games, but because she respects herself too much to settle. This creates a powerful dynamic, one where a man understands that being with her is a privilege, not a convenience. He doesn't take her for granted because he knows she isn't afraid to leave if she isn't valued. And here's where the paradox of attraction comes into play. The moment a woman stops chasing and starts seeing herself as the prize, men naturally start pursuing her. Why? Because she is rare. She is not like the majority who compromise, settle, or try to prove their worth. She radiates self-assurance, and that makes her irresistible. Men want to feel like they have won something special. They want to feel like they have earned the love of a woman who doesn't give it away easily. When a woman truly embraces this mindset, she doesn't need to chase, because the right man will make sure he never loses her. A woman who never chases but always attracts operates from an energy of abundance, not scarcity. She doesn't cling to the idea that love is rare or that a man's attention is something she has to fight for. Instead, she moves through life knowing that the right people will naturally align with her, and those who don't will never meant to stay. This deep, unshakable belief in abundance allows her to remain calm, centered, and in control, even when things don't go her way. She doesn't force connections, she doesn't beg for love, she simply is, and that energy is magnetic. Scarcity makes people desperate. It makes them accept less than they deserve, tolerate mistreatment, and hold on to relationships that drain them. Many women fall into this trap not because they lack worth, but because they fear losing something they believe is rare. The problem is, when you operate from scarcity, you project fear, and fear repels. A woman who fears losing a man will unknowingly push him away, not because she's doing something wrong, but because desperation shifts the balance of power. It makes a man feel like he is the prize, like his love is something to be won, and in doing so she diminishes her own value. But a woman who believes in abundance sends a different message. She doesn't panic when someone pulls away. She doesn't try to prove why she should be chosen. She doesn't abandon herself just to keep someone close. Instead, she trusts. She trusts that if a man is truly interested, he will show up. If he's right for her, he won't need convincing. And if he's not, she lets him go, because she knows there is more out there. She doesn't need to cling to something that isn't meant for her. This mindset is incredibly powerful because it changes the way she behaves. A woman who believes in abundance is naturally more relaxed, more confident, more in control of her emotions. She doesn't overanalyze every text, every interaction, every moment of silence. She doesn't feel the need to chase because she knows her worth isn't tied to any one person. And men feel this. They sense the difference between a woman who is afraid of losing them and a woman who is secure in herself. The latter is always more attractive. Psychologically, this ties into a fundamental principle of human nature. People value what is not easily obtained. When something feels scarce, people want it more. But the trick here is that real scarcity isn't about playing games or pretending to be busy. It's about genuinely having a full, meaningful life. A woman who believes in abundance doesn't just say she doesn't chase, she lives it. She invests in herself. She prioritizes her growth, her happiness, her passions. She doesn't make a man the center of her world, because she already has a world that fulfills her, and paradoxically, this makes her even more desirable. A man doesn't want to feel like he's filling a void. He doesn't want to feel like he is someone's entire source of happiness. He wants to feel like he's choosing a woman who already knows how to be happy on her own. This is the essence of attraction. When a woman radiates confidence, independence, and self-sufficiency, men naturally gravitate toward her. Not because she's trying to lure them in, but because she's living in a way that makes them want to be part of her life. The beauty of abundance is that it removes fear. When a woman truly embraces this mindset, she stops accepting less than she deserves. She stops entertaining men who don't treat her right. She stops wasting energy on relationships that drain her, and in doing so she makes room for something better. She becomes the kind of woman who attracts effortlessly, not by chasing, not by convincing, but by simply being the kind of person others want to be around. A woman who never chases but always attracts, understands the immense power of emotional self-control. She doesn't allow fleeting emotions to dictate her actions or reactions. Instead, she moves with intention, responding rather than reacting. This is what separates a woman who commands respect from a woman who is easily swayed by external circumstances. She knows that emotional control is not about suppressing feelings, it's about mastering them so they don't master her. When a woman lacks control over her emotions, she becomes unpredictable. She might overthink, overreact, or allow anxiety to push her into behaviors that drive men away. Maybe she texts impulsively when she feels ignored. Maybe she overanalyzes his every move, looking for signs of disinterest. Maybe she lets fear dictate her decisions, trying to secure his affection through effort, even when it's not reciprocated. These behaviors don't make her less worthy. They simply shift the power dynamic in a way that makes her seem like she is seeking validation rather than standing in her own worth. A woman with emotional self-control, however, carries herself differently. When a man pulls away, she doesn't panic. She doesn't flood him with messages or try to force him to stay engaged. Instead, she observes. She gives space not as a tactic, but because she knows that a man's interest should be clear without her needing to chase it. If he is truly invested, he will come back on his own. And if he doesn't, she accepts it with grace, knowing that losing someone who isn't truly aligned with her is not a loss, it's redirection. This level of control is deeply attractive because it signals confidence, maturity, and security. A woman who is in charge of her emotions creates a sense of stability, and stability is something men crave. In a world where so many people are led by their insecurities, a woman who remains composed even in uncertainty stands out. She becomes the woman men want to invest in, not because she is manipulative or withholding, but because she is a safe harbor, a presence that is both intriguing and grounding. Psychologically, emotional self-control ties into a concept called emotional contagion. The idea that people unconsciously absorb and mirror the emotions of those around them. If a woman constantly radiates anxiety, insecurity, or neediness, the people around her, especially romantic interests, will begin to associate those emotions with her presence. But if she exudes calm, confidence, and self-assurance, she creates an energy that draws people in. She becomes someone who is pleasant to be around, someone whose presence feels like an elevated experience rather than an emotional roller coaster. This doesn't mean she never feels hurt, disappointment, or frustration. It means she processes those emotions internally rather than allowing them to dictate her outward behavior. She understands that her worth is not determined by someone else's actions, so she doesn't let rejection shake her. She doesn't beg for clarity. She doesn't demand validation. She chooses peace over chaos, control over impulsivity, and self-respect over temporary emotional relief. And here's the paradox. When a woman practices emotional self-control, she actually creates more emotional investment from a man. When she doesn't chase, doesn't react impulsively, and doesn't let fear control her, a man feels the weight of her absence. He starts wondering about her, thinking about her, realizing that she isn't like the others who react out of desperation. He sees that her world doesn't revolve around him, and that realization makes him want to earn his place in her life. Men respect women who respect themselves, and emotional self-control is one of the strongest ways a woman can demonstrate that respect. It tells the world, I am in charge of myself. I do not beg for love. I do not need to be chosen. I choose. This mindset shifts everything. It eliminates the need for games, for over-explaining, for trying to prove worth. Because when a woman moves through life with this level of control, she naturally attracts what is meant for her, without ever having to chase it. A woman who never chases but always attracts knows the power of standards. She understands that what she allows is what will continue, and she never compromises her self-respect for temporary affection. She doesn't beg for love, doesn't settle for half-hearted efforts, and doesn't entertain inconsistency. She sets the bar high, not to intimidate, but to filter. She knows that the right man will meet her at her level, while the wrong ones will weed themselves out. And that's exactly what she wants. Many women struggle with standards because they fear losing a connection. They worry that if they set expectations, they'll push a man away, so they lower the bar. They accept breadcrumbs of attention. They excuse disrespect. They tolerate behaviors that make them feel unvalued, all in the hope that if they're understanding enough, patient enough, or loving enough, he'll step up. But that's not how attraction works. A man doesn't respect a woman who abandons herself for him. He respects a woman who shows him that she wants. A woman who values herself too much to settle for anything less than what she truly deserves. The truth is, people rise to the standards we set, or they fall away. A woman who knows this doesn't fear walking away from a situation that doesn't serve her. She understands that love should never have to be forced. If a man wants her, he will show it through consistent effort, clear communication, and unwavering respect. If he doesn't, she won't try to change his mind. She won't try to convince him of her worth, because she knows her worth isn't up for debate. This kind of self-assurance is powerful. It makes a woman unforgettable. A man might not always realize it in the moment, but he will feel it. When a woman has high standards, it challenges him, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that makes him want to be better. It makes him see her as someone of value, someone who won't just accept anything. And deep down, that's what men crave. They don't want a woman who makes things too easy, who accepts less than she deserves just to keep him around. They want a woman who holds them accountable, who inspires them to rise, who makes them work for a place in her life, because anything earned is valued far more than anything simply given. This is rooted in a psychological principle known as the effort justification effect, the idea that people value things more when they have to work for them. If a woman is too available, too accommodating, too forgiving of bad behavior, a man subconsciously sees her as less valuable. But when she requires consistency, respect, and effort, he feels a sense of investment. He doesn't want to lose her. He sees that she's not desperate, that she chooses who gets access to her, and that realization makes her presence feel like a privilege, not a convenience. The key, though, is that a woman with high standards doesn't just talk about them, she lives by them. She doesn't just say she wants respect, she walks away from anything that doesn't align with it. She doesn't just say she values consistency. She doesn't entertain men who give her mixed signals. She doesn't issue ultimatums or beg someone to step up. She simply enforces her boundaries with quiet certainty, knowing that the right man will recognize and appreciate them. And here's the beautiful thing. Having high standards doesn't push good men away, it attracts them. The wrong men, the ones who want to take advantage, play games, or offer the bare minimum, might walk away, but that's a blessing, not a loss. The right man, the one who is capable of meeting her where she is, will see her value because she values herself. And that's how she wins, not by chasing, not by convincing, but by simply being a woman who knows what she deserves, and refusing to accept anything less. A woman who never chases but always attracts understands the silent power of mystery. She doesn't lay all her cards on the table too soon, nor does she feel the need to overshare in an attempt to create connection. Instead, she allows intrigue to build naturally. letting a man invest in discovering her rather than handing him the full picture before he's earned it. This isn't about playing games. It's about maintaining a sense of depth, of individuality, of self-possession that makes her endlessly fascinating. Mystery is not deception. It's not withholding affection or deliberately being vague to manipulate someone's emotions. It's the quiet confidence of a woman who knows that not everyone deserves immediate access to the deepest parts of her. She reveals herself gradually, allowing trust and connection to unfold over time. In a world where instant gratification is the norm, where people share their entire lives online and emotional intimacy is often rushed, this kind of restraint is magnetic. It makes her stand out. A woman who embodies mystery knows that curiosity is one of the strongest forces in human psychology. When something is unknown, the mind fixates on it. When a person doesn't reveal everything all at once, others naturally lean in, trying to fill in the gaps. This is why great storytelling, unforgettable romances, and lifelong attractions are built on the element of suspense. When a man doesn't immediately know everything about a woman, her thoughts, her emotions, her daily routine, his mind lingers on her. He wonders what she's thinking, what she's feeling, what she does when she's not with him. She becomes an enigma he wants to solve, a presence that lingers even in her absence. But mystery isn't just about what she doesn't say. It's also about how she carries herself. A woman with this quality doesn't feel the need to over-explain herself. She isn't reactive. If a man asks a direct question, she answers, but she doesn't rush to fill the silence with unnecessary details. She speaks with purpose, leaving just enough room for curiosity to take root. She allows conversations to be engaging, yet never one-sided. She doesn't overshare personal history or reveal every insecurity in the early stages of connection, because she knows that true intimacy is built over time, not in a desperate attempt to fast-track emotional closeness. And the most powerful aspect of mystery? It creates respect. When a woman has layers to her, when she doesn't instantly reveal every thought and emotion, she is perceived as someone of depth, someone who cannot be easily figured out. This commands admiration. People respect what they don't fully understand, and they are drawn to what feels just out of reach. A woman who keeps a sense of mystery signals that she is complex, that she has a life, a mind, and a world beyond any romantic interest. That makes her captivating. This is why some women, despite being beautiful or successful, struggle to maintain attraction. They give everything away too soon. They flood a man with information, with access, with constant validation, thinking it will secure his interest. But what often happens instead is that he feels like there's nothing left to discover. The intrigue fades, the connection becomes predictable. And predictability, while comforting in long-term relationships, can be the death of early attraction. A woman who understands the power of mystery doesn't need to force anything. She simply lives her life fully. She has passions, routines, friendships, and ambitions that don't revolve around a man. She doesn't disappear or play hard to get. She simply maintains a sense of individuality that keeps her endlessly intriguing. When she shares something personal, it feels meaningful because it wasn't given away too easily. When she engages in conversation, she listens deeply, but she doesn't rush to spill every detail about herself. She creates a space where a man feels like he wants to know more, where every interaction leaves him wanting just a little more time, a little more understanding, a little more her. This is the power of mystery. It keeps attraction alive, it fosters deep respect, and it ensures that a woman is never just an option but an unforgettable presence. Not because she hides who she is, but because she understands that true connection is built on layers. Layers that are revealed not all at once, but over time, to the right person who truly deserves them. A woman who never chases but always attracts understands the immense power of emotional control. She doesn't allow her feelings to dictate her actions impulsively. Instead, she masters the art of responding rather than reacting. She knows that emotional self-possession is one of the most attractive qualities a woman can have, because it signals strength, maturity, and deep self-respect. Many women struggle with emotional control because society often teaches them that love should be expressed through grand gestures, instant availability, and an open display of vulnerability at all times. But in reality, emotional discipline is what sets a truly captivating woman apart. She doesn't lose herself in overwhelming emotions, nor does she allow temporary feelings to lead her into behaviors she'll regret. She understands that attraction thrives in balance. She remains warm, engaged, and open, but never to the point of losing herself in the process. When a woman lacks emotional control, it often leads to actions that push men away rather than drawing them in. She may become overly anxious when she doesn't receive an immediate text back, start overanalyzing every word in a conversation, or seek constant reassurance out of fear of being forgotten. She may react impulsively to situations, saying things in moments of frustration that she later regrets. She may become too emotionally invested in a man before he has even earned her trust and commitment. All of these behaviors stem from a place of insecurity, and insecurity repels attraction. On the other hand, a woman who is in control of her emotions remains calm in the face of uncertainty. If a man pulls back, she doesn't panic. If he takes time to respond, she doesn't spiral into overthinking. If he tests her boundaries, she doesn't lash out. She simply enforces them with quiet certainty. She operates from a place of inner security, knowing that her worth is not defined by any one person's actions. This level of control makes a man see her differently. He recognizes that she isn't emotionally dependent on him for validation. He sees that she is centered, balanced, and capable of handling situations with grace, and that makes her incredibly attractive. Because deep down, men don't want to be the sole source of a woman's happiness. They want to feel like they complement her life, not complete it. A woman who radiates emotional stability signals that she is already whole on her own. This is rooted in a psychological concept known as emotional contagion, the idea that people subconsciously mirror the emotions of those around them. If a woman is constantly anxious, clingy, or reactive, it creates a sense of emotional turbulence that repels a man. But when she remains composed and self-assured, it creates an atmosphere of calm confidence that draws him in. He feels safe in her presence. He trusts her energy, and because she isn't easily shaken, she naturally commands more respect. But emotional control doesn't mean suppressing emotions or pretending not to care. It means processing feelings in a healthy way, knowing when to express them and when to hold back, and most importantly, never letting emotions override self-respect. If she's hurt, she acknowledges it, but she doesn't seek revenge or lash out in a moment of anger. If she's disappointed, she communicates it calmly, but she doesn't beg or plead for someone to change. If she's deeply interested in a man, she allows herself to feel it, but she doesn't let that interest consume her identity. One of the most powerful things a woman can do is master the pause. Before reacting to a triggering situation, she takes a breath. Before sending an impulsive text, she reflects. Before assuming the worst, she gathers more information. This small but significant act of restraint sets her apart from women who let fleeting emotions dictate their actions. It shows maturity. It commands admiration, and most importantly, it protects her from unnecessary heartache. When a woman has emotional control, she never feels the need to chase. She naturally attracts, because her presence is one of quiet confidence and stability. She doesn't create unnecessary drama, she doesn't engage in emotional outbursts, and she doesn't let temporary feelings cause permanent damage. And because of this, the right men don't just want her, they respect her. And in the long run, respect is the foundation of any deep, lasting connection. A woman who never chases but always attracts understands the undeniable power of self-worth. She doesn't settle for half-hearted effort, mixed signals, or lukewarm interest because she knows what she brings to the table. She operates from a mindset of abundance, not scarcity. She never begs for attention, never waits anxiously for validation, and never allows a man to dictate her value. She knows her worth, and because of that, the world around her reflects it. Self-worth is not arrogance. It's not about believing she's better than others or demanding perfection. It's about deeply recognizing that she is enough, without needing external validation to prove it. This level of self-assurance is magnetic. When a woman carries herself with an inner certainty that she deserves respect, commitment, and genuine effort, others naturally mirror that belief. Men don't question her value. They feel it. She doesn't have to convince anyone that she's worthy of love. Her actions, her standards, and her presence say it all. A woman who lacks self-worth, however, often finds herself in situations where she feels the need to prove her value. She may overcompensate in relationships, going out of her way to please a man who isn't reciprocating. She may tolerate inconsistency, accepting breadcrumbs of attention instead of the full investment she truly desires. She may fear setting boundaries because she worries that enforcing them will drive someone away. But in reality, it's the absence of self-worth that pushes people away, not the presence of it. When a woman doesn't believe in her own value, it subtly signals to others that they don't need to believe in it either. On the other hand, a woman with self-worth does not chase. She doesn't beg for love, she doesn't tolerate disrespect, and she doesn't shrink herself to fit into someone else's world. If a man is inconsistent, she doesn't try harder, she steps back. If he fails to meet her standards, she doesn't lower them, she moves on. This is not coldness, this is self-respect. She understands that her time, her energy, and her love are privileges, not things to be taken for granted. And because she holds herself to that standard, others do too. This is rooted in the law of attraction and basic human psychology. People value what is not easily obtained. When something is scarce, it becomes more desirable. A woman who embodies self-worth is not hard to get in a manipulative way. She is simply selective. She does not give her time and energy freely to just anyone. She reserves it for those who truly appreciate and earn it. And that alone makes her far more attractive than a woman who is overly available, eager to please, or willing to tolerate less than she deserves. A woman who deeply values herself doesn't play games. She simply refuses to engage in dynamics that drain her. If a man is unsure about her, she doesn't waste time convincing him. If someone treats her poorly, she doesn't stick around hoping they'll change. She understands that love should never feel like a constant battle for validation. When something is right, it flows. When someone truly values her, they show it. And the most powerful thing? She isn't afraid to walk away. She knows that losing someone who doesn't truly appreciate her is never really a loss. It's a gain. It's a step closer to someone who will value her. It's an act of self-respect that reinforces her own worth, proving to herself that she will never settle for less than she deserves. Men recognize this energy immediately. They can feel when a woman is deeply secure in herself, when she isn't afraid to say no, when she isn't emotionally desperate. And that energy is intoxicating. It's the difference between being seen as an option and being seen as a priority. A woman with unshakable self-worth doesn't attract love through force. She attracts it through her very being. She radiates confidence, she moves with purpose, and she never loses herself in the pursuit of someone else. At the end of the day, self-worth is not something a woman has to prove. It's something she embodies, and when she does, the right people gravitate toward her, not because she chased them, but because her presence alone is enough to draw them in. A woman who never chases, but always attracts, understands the art of mystery. She knows that the most captivating people are those who leave others wanting more. Not because they play games, but because they live rich, fulfilling lives that are not centered around seeking validation. She is intriguing because she does not lay everything on the table at once. She reveals herself in layers, allowing people to earn deeper access to her world. This sense of mystery is not about manipulation. It is about maintaining an air of self-respect and emotional independence that naturally draws others in. Many women, in an attempt to prove their worth, overshare too quickly, lay all their emotions bare, or become overly available. They feel the need to constantly express their interest, explain their feelings, or prove how much they care. But in reality, attraction is fueled by anticipation, curiosity, and the slow unveiling of depth. When everything is given freely and immediately, there is little room for excitement or discovery. People are naturally drawn to what feels special, unique, and not easily accessible. A woman who understands mystery doesn't rush connection. She allows it to build naturally. She doesn't feel the need to answer every message instantly, share her entire life story on a first date, or immediately reveal her deepest vulnerabilities. She lets things unfold over time, creating a sense of depth that invites curiosity. She is warm and engaging, but she doesn't feel the need to prove herself through excessive availability or constant validation seeking. This balance of openness and reserve makes her incredibly compelling. Men, by nature, are wired to pursue and discover. When a woman maintains a sense of individuality, when she has passions, interests, and a life that extends beyond any relationship, she becomes someone worth pursuing, not because she withholds affection, but because she is inherently valuable. She doesn't need anyone to complete her, and that makes her presence even more desirable. The psychology behind this is simple. People value what they have to earn. When something is too easy, it loses its appeal. This doesn't mean a woman should play hard to get in an artificial way. Rather, she should have enough self-respect to let things progress at a natural pace, instead of rushing into emotional overexposure. True connection is built over time, and a woman who understands her worth knows that she does not have to give all of herself away too soon. A woman who embraces mystery also understands the power of selective silence. She doesn't feel the need to fill every silence with words, over-explain her thoughts, or justify her actions. She knows that presence speaks louder than words. Sometimes it's in the pauses, in the unspoken moments, that attraction deepens. A simple glance, a subtle smile, or a confident silence can be far more powerful than 1,000 words spoken out of nervousness or eagerness. This is why men find women with an air of mystery so intriguing. They can sense that she is not waiting to be rescued, that she is not seeking external validation to feel complete. They can tell that she is whole on her own, and that makes her fascinating. It invites them to want to know more, to invest more, to put in effort. A woman who has mystery doesn't chase, because she doesn't need to. She allows men to step forward, to put in the work, and to prove that they are worthy of her attention. Attraction is not about constant availability, it's about balance. A woman who keeps a little bit of mystery, who reveals herself in layers, who allows space for curiosity, creates a dynamic that feels both exciting and deeply rewarding. She does not overshare, over-explain, or over-invest in someone who hasn't yet shown that they deserve her time. She simply lives her life with passion, purpose, and presence. And in doing so, she naturally draws the right people toward her, not through force, but through the quiet, undeniable power of intrigue. A woman who never chases but always attracts understands the power of letting go. She knows that clinging to what isn't meant for her only creates resistance, and that true love, true respect, and true admiration flow freely toward those who are willing to walk away when necessary. She does not force connections. She does not beg for love. She does not stay in spaces where she is merely tolerated instead of deeply valued. She embodies the ultimate power move, releasing what is not aligned with her worth. Letting go is not about giving up or becoming indifferent. It is about understanding that real love is never something that has to be grasped. It is something that is given freely. A woman who embraces this mindset does not waste time analyzing mixed signals, making excuses for inconsistency, or holding on to the hope that someone will one day wake up and see her value. She does not place her self-worth in the hands of another, hoping that they will validate it. Instead, she knows that the right person will recognize her worth from the beginning, and if they don't, she is strong enough to walk away without looking back. This level of detachment is not cold. It is deeply self-loving. It is the ability to trust that what is truly meant for her will never require her to chase it. She understands that her energy, her time, and her love are sacred, and she refuses to waste them on someone who is unwilling to match her effort. When she sees someone pulling away, she does not panic. She does not overcompensate. She does not beg them to stay. Instead, she leans back, allowing the space for truth to reveal itself. If that person is meant to be in her life, they will step up. If not, she lets them go with grace, knowing that their departure is making room for someone who will truly value her. This mindset is incredibly powerful because it shifts the dynamic entirely. A woman who is willing to let go holds all the control, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that commands respect. When a woman refuses to chase, when she is not afraid of losing someone, she places herself in a position of undeniable strength. She radiates confidence, and confidence is one of the most attractive traits a person can have. She is not available simply because someone wants her. She is available only to those who genuinely deserve her presence. Men can feel this energy. They can sense when a woman is desperate for validation, just as they can sense when a woman is completely at peace with herself, regardless of whether someone stays or leaves. And nothing is more captivating than a woman who knows her worth so deeply that she does not fear loss. This makes her incredibly desirable, not because she is unattainable, but because she is whole. She is not looking for someone to complete her, but rather for someone to complement the life she has already built. Letting go is not always easy, but it is essential. It requires trust in oneself, trust in the process of life, and trust in the fact that better things always come when we release what is not serving us. A woman who masters this understands that love should never feel like a struggle. If it requires endless proving, convincing, or waiting, then it is not love, it is attachment. And attachment is not the same as connection. The most powerful women are those who are willing to walk away from anything that does not nourish their soul. They do not fear being alone because they know that solitude is far better than settling. They do not entertain half-hearted effort because they know they deserve full devotion. They do not waste time on people who cannot see their worth because they are too busy embracing their own. And in the end, this is what makes them so magnetic. The moment a woman releases the need to chase, to convince, to cling, she steps into her true power. She becomes the kind of woman who does not seek love but instead attracts it effortlessly. She is at peace, she is confident, she is whole, and in that wholeness she creates a gravitational pull that draws the right people toward her, not because she forced them to stay, but because they wanted to be there.